Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Krevat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Krevat.
All right, so welcome back, everybody. Tonight we have a special guest, and by tonight I mean this episode and next episode, because we're recording 2 episodes in a row.
That's assuming we don't offend her so much in the first episode she doesn't stay for the second episode.
Oh, please. I'm married to you. There's no way you could offend me.
Challenge accepted. So our guest tonight is Madhavi. I feel like I've been saying your name wrong, so I'm glad that you put it in there. I will have, for the audio people, I want you to say it so that they can hear it right.
Oh, it's Madhavi.
Okay.
It's just Madhavi. Madhavi.
And then I will make sure that I put the parentheses when I put your title up on YouTube.
So I invented that. She had the name for a long time, but when we were in college,
I've had the name for a long time.
How to pronounce her name? I was like, it's like you're teaching your mother the alphabet, and you're getting towards the end, and you say "ma," the V, but crunched up together.
Great. So I like that you took credit for her name. That's cool.
I know, like she didn't know how to pronounce her name until I.
This is the weirdest mansplaining I've ever witnessed.
You did not know how to pronounce my name because my parents and my sisters all said it differently, so you never knew how to pronounce my name. And you were just lucky. I said you can call me Maddie for short.
Yeah, well, I'd call up her house and say, "Hi, it's Matthew. Is Maddie there?" And depending who answered the phone, they would call her to the phone differently. I'm like, I can't even copy them because they all do a different variation of her name.
Nice.
Bitch.
Me or I'm used to it. Mm-hmm. All right, so tonight's topic is advocacy, and this was one of the two of you's idea. I don't know which one for a topic, and it's okay. Matthew.
Yeah, so it's a little self-serving. So let me set us up a little bit. We've all been talking in our circles. How do we deal with what's going on in the world today, and what can we do? And so this is a twofer. One of the furs is Madhavi and our daughter Leah are in the process of putting together a presentation at the end of April for the Triangle Free Thought Society or any other non-believers who want to come in Apex on how to talk to your representatives. How do you talk to your senators, state or national? Doesn't really make a difference. But we're focused on state level because on May 1st, our organization is leading a brigade to go to the General Assembly, our second year in a row doing it, to have appointments made with different representatives and senators for the Triangle area to talk to them about separation of church and state and how important it is, especially in these trying times of so much Christian nationalism. So it's a little self-serving that I'm like, while we're talking about that, hey, let's talk about it on the show. And I can mention it like I just did. And if there's any secular people in the Triangle who are not part of Triangle Free Thought, but think, ooh, this sounds interesting, visit trianglefreethought.org. There'll be a event about it, and you can come to both events. You can come get trained and just because you want to hear that talk and get trained, or you can come get trained and then say, I also want to come on May 1st and talk to my representatives, and we'll sign you up and do that. But the other thing is, so that was the one for the other thing. The main thing that sparked me, we should do this. That was a benefit of doing it. Was I saw a TikTok of a guy in Texas, 6'7", 300 pounds, rednecky as hell, talking about the fact he looks like a typical MAGA. He lives a half an hour away from Houston, and he's got a sign, use your voice or they will use your silence. And he was talking about, people ask why I protest, like I'm standing on the street corners and I go to and I'm protesting by myself with 5 people, and what good is it? And he goes, I look MAGA. I'm big and strong. No one's going to mess with me. I'm protesting for those who are afraid to do it themselves. I'm protesting for those who legitimately cannot do it themselves. And if we don't use our voice, they'll say, hey, everyone is fine with this. Otherwise, they'd be protesting. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that, I said, you know what? We should talk about that. And then who better to talk about it than the queen of protesting, my wife. The lady protests too much.
Does that make Leah the princess of protesting?
Yes, she is the princess.
She-ra, princess of protest.
I like that title a little bit better because I like alliteration, but
Yes.
But both are good titles.
How about Empress of Protest? You get the P sound in there that way?
Yeah. It's impressive to be the Empress of Protesting. Yeah. No, that sounds
I'm
awesome.
the Rani of Revolting. There you go.
Nice. That's good too. So first question I have is, do you want me to record that event for Triangle Free Thought, or is this like a keep it off the YouTubes kind of? Well, I mean, we're doing this on YouTube, so
No, I think we could do that. It's going to be in the Apex Community Center on what date, hon?
It's on Sunday, April 27th at 2:30 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah, in the Summit Room at
in the Summit Room,
John C. Brown Community Center in Apex, 7300 Street. And I just realized as we were renting the room that all the rooms are named synonyms for Apex. There's a Summit Room, a Pinnacle Room, and what was the other one? Like Acme or something. It was some other synonym. It's like, oh, that's huge.
So the reason I ask, I assume that even though you are mostly used to protesting here in North Carolina, that a lot of this is applicable in most government structures.
Our talk is going to be completely about how easy it is to access your state level people, how much they do want to hear from you. I think there's no like North Carolina process. Anyone, you can make an appointment to talk to your people. That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a little bit and think about how to have a concise elevator pitch thing you can say to them. That's you only have a couple minutes of their time, how to get your story out there in an impactful way. And at the actual event, we'll probably role play a little bit and practice that, which might not transition so well to video, but we can edit. And I'm hoping we can maybe get a North Carolina Lake County representative to come to the event to nonpartisanly just talk about how important it is and how they do want, say, look, I'm here telling you, we do want you to come visit.
Yeah. Great. That's exciting, and I'm hoping that we've been kind of purplish. Let's try to hold strong in some ways at least, and do what we can to not become.
Well, we have a Democratic governor, so and a Democratic lieutenant governor and attorney general, so
Yeah.
Just not as weird that way. Like Trump won overwhelmingly over Harris, but on the state level, fine. The governor, Mark Robinson, was a train wreck, so it's not surprising. But the fact that lieutenant governor and attorney general, also we had stronger candidates, but a lot of times it doesn't make a difference. Trump was not as strong a candidate than Harris for any measurable thing except popularity. So you never know. And North Carolina is so weird that it was split by like 3 million votes. He won, and then lost. The Republicans couldn't win the governor or attorney general or lieutenant governor.
We know that looking at Mark Robinson that it's obvious he should not have won, and we're glad about that. But I feel like that same race in other states would not necessarily have gone down the same way. You look at like a Georgia or a Texas or anything like. There's some states where you're like, nah, that could have like the exact same two guys could have ended up the opposite way.
Well, I don't think Governor Stein will be running in Texas.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, he's our first Jewish governor, so
it's surprising he ran in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Like he probably couldn't have won against anyone except Robinson. Like he had the perfect opponent. The one person who was so bad they'd elected Jewish governor over him.
Yeah.
But if we're going to interview my wife and grill her properly, I think I know you've been on before. What did you talk about last week here? Would you talk about the same issue or something else?
We talked about mental health.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk real fast? Why don't you talk real fast about how you went from permanent resident, didn't pay attention to politics in this country, to naturalized citizen, full-time activist and advocacy person.
Right. So, I was a permanent resident for a long time, had my green card, and I didn't do a lot of politicking because the world wasn't that bad. Like even with a Republican president, Bush, the two Bushes, and even Reagan, it wasn't that bad, and then things started to get worse, and I got my citizenship, and I I only got involved because of Leah, because of our daughter.
No, so you got your citizenship when Trump was president the first time because there was a little bit of fear of maybe it's not safe to have been a permanent resident for 40 years with Trump as president. Maybe we need citizenship to protect it.
Right. Yeah, and I wanted to vote and stuff. Our second son, Joseph, he didn't get to vote when Trump first ran because he was just not old enough. Like he just missed, the date. So yeah, I didn't like what was going on, and so I'm like, I freaking need to vote. So, I got my citizenship, and then Parkland happened. The Parkland shooting happened February 14th, 2018, and Leah heard about it at school, and Leah was the same way as me. She wouldn't sit at the table and talk politics. If we started talking politics, she was gone. Like that was it. But then Parkland happened. She saw all these kids her age dying, and she came home in tears and said, "That's it. I can't stand by any longer. We've got to do something. So please, Mom, please, let's do something." So I'm like, okay. So we went to our first town hall. The Parkland kids had created March for Our Lives, and so we went to a town hall and we joined a gun violence prevention group, and we really kind of just hit the ground running. I soon after we joined, Leah became a leader in the students part, and I became a leader. Like I was overseeing the students, and we ended up meeting the Parkland students just later that year. They came to Greensboro, and we drove down there, and we manned a booth, and basically we just hit the ground running. And then we started to meet our representatives because they would schedule us to go and talk to people about gun violence prevention. And so we started meeting them, and that's when we got heavily involved in just politics, not just the gun violence prevention movement, but politics. And so now it has been seven years that we've been involved, and we have cultivated many, many, many relationships at the North Carolina General Assembly. I think the representatives and the senators in Durham County, Wake County, Orange County, Mecklenburg, Buncombe County out west.
North Carolina, about 2.5, 3 hours from where we are, Mecklenburg County, but it's where Charlotte is, so it's a major place. So we got to know some of the people there. Yeah,
so we know some of the people there, and that was pretty much it. Like I got very passionate about it, and I got really angry about what was going on in our country, and so the passion just hit, and I knew I had to do something. And I mean, if people who know me now would never believe that back in the day, like even when I first met Matthew, I was this shy, quiet girl who barely spoke and who didn't express her opinions or anything like that. And now I'm just this loudmouth, in your face. My daughter calls me badass, and I
not just your daughter.
I have no problem expressing myself. I mean, no, I have no problems expressing myself now. I'm like, come at me, baby. I'll take you down.
On a previous episode, I went through a list of all the different politicians I know on a first name basis kind of thing, and you made me stop halfway through because we could have done it the whole night. Yeah. One of the things that happened with us with that was a friend of ours from Triangle Free Thought ran for town council, and so we were helping her with her campaign stuff, and the other Democratic candidates for town council were they ran together as a team because they were like, the way the town council works at Apex is there's whatever amount of slots open and any amount of people can run for them. And the top, people, the top, whatever amount of slots there are, those top 3 slots, the top 3 people win them right over. So there were 3 Democrats running together. So we got to meet them and did like meet and greets with them and said, oh, how easy it is to meet our town council people. We didn't even know what town council was before this. And then some of the candidates for NC House came to those events, or they went to stuff like there was a picnic by the Democratic Party for meet candidates, and we went to support our friend, and then we got to meet the people running for House and Senate. Like, oh, they were easy to talk to. Like our person who ended up becoming our senator. Like I became real friendly with him. We'd see him at other events, and he'd make his way over to say hi to me because we hit it off. And so we discovered how easy it is to meet your representative and your senators during campaign season, especially. They're running events everywhere, and they want to meet you.
Yeah,
it's true. They do.
But I mean, in general, they want to meet people.
They want to meet people, and they want to get to know their constituents, and they want to know what they're passionate about. So, but the bad thing is that we've been to so many events, we've arranged meet and greets and things like that, and the same people show up every time. We're trying to get new people to come and actually get involved. I never realized how important it was to get involved in your government, but your government controls your entire life, from the ground up. So from town council all the way to, federal, to our senators.
And if you haven't noticed yet, you do when it hits you. Like Madhavi said before, Republican presidents weren't bad. It wasn't bad for her because, she wasn't a gay person during HIV with Reagan saying, who cares?
Yeah.
But eventually it hits you and you realize, I didn't even realize the tendrils were there because I would happen to be walking between them and not touching the tendrils until they get a grip on you.
Yep. Yeah. So I got two questions for you before we move on because you've got a lot of information there, which is good. So I looked up Parkland because I didn't know off the top of my head when that happened. That was February 14th, 2018.
Valentine's Day.
So, and that's when you guys started. How old was Leah then?
She was 15.
15, okay.
The same age as most of the victims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think that's an important part of the story to me is that, because I met Matthew 2 months after that. I started working for Matthew. So, I came in right as you guys were getting started, and it was impressive. And I think that, our audience should know that part of it, too, because when Leah was on, 6 months or a year ago, whatever it was, she's a young woman now and not a child, but she was essentially a child in all the ways that count. And she, and I met her post transformation. So I only know that version of both of you. And it's impressive. And it's impressive when you think about the fact that it just kind of clicked one day and it wasn't I'm sure in some way it's like everything else. It's a slow build that no one sees, and then it clicks for everybody.
Yeah. So you met Leah early in her activism, she was engaged in it, but So those of you who are watching on YouTube can tell that Mike is a videographer as well as a podcaster. So Mike was actually the videographer for Leah's and director for Leah's first/only at this point fully done music video. Leah wrote her first song at 16 called #Enough about there's enough gun violence, we need to stop it. And Mike was nice enough to spend a day with her filming at various locations and helping her put together a professional looking video for it.
Yeah.
So and that was only year one of her being active.
So that's why I have this mental image. You both have obviously known her forever, but where the silly carefree side. I only know
angry activist girl.
No, I don't think of her as angry. I just think of her as passionate.
Yeah.
But
she is. She's very passionate, and I'm actually very pleased. I was actually pleased and surprised that how fully she put herself into this role, this activist advocate role. And I think we got close. We were always close. We've always been close. She's my only girl. We've always been close. Yeah. But this really propelled us into a whole new world. We got even closer. She's my partner in this advocacy game, and she and I lean on each other. We depend on each other when we do stuff like this. And she has grown less. She's 22 now. She's 15 when she started. She's 22 now, and I rely on her to give me advice. If I need something, should I do this? Should I say this? What do you think about this? I can rely on her to, tell me the truth. Well, maybe you shouldn't say that. Mom, this is what it sounds like to me. And I love that. I love how much we've grown together. Yeah,
it's really, every time I see one of either of your posts when you're together at something, it's really cool. It sucks that you have to that.
I know.
The reasons why you're advocates is terrible, but the fact that you are is good, and it's very cool to see that on Instagram.
Yeah. So if you Google protests near me this weekend, wherever you are, you will find protests for something. And when you see one that you're like, you know what, I kind of agree with that, go ahead and join the. Like we say, seeing new faces is the best thing. We went to when early on in the Trump Fourth Reich. That was just downtown, by the governor's mansion and the federal buildings and such, the state buildings. That was just like, it was just a show up and say you're not happy about this. Like, it wasn't even a specific topic, right?
Yeah.
And of course, because my main topic is separation of church and state, I grabbed a little bag I have of different small signs from American atheists about separation of church and state. Well, all about separation of church and state, but some about, like, keep your theology off my biology, keep your theocracy out of my democracy, build this wall. And it's like a separation of a church and the Capitol building. Yeah. And I just grabbed the whole container of them to say, just in case, because other, people from TFS and people from a group Madhavi works with a lot, the Secular Women of the Triangle, we're meeting up together. So I was like, if anyone doesn't have a sign, here are signs. And then as people were going, ooh, can I take a picture of your sign? I'm like, you can have one. And I was handing out. And then looking at the news coverage, I see all these people who I don't know holding my signs from American Atheists that I've been handing out to people. So so it's cool. Like, you meet new people and get engaged. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
And
so my other question is, you mentioned that part of the reason that you became a citizen was so that you could vote. And obviously you're very passionate about it now. I wonder, when you see people who born with that right, and didn't have to do anything to get it and are just throwing it away,
this was a topic of discussion at dinner last night.
Okay. Does it piss you off more? Like, because like I've had those conversations with people that I know that are like, I don't see the difference between, and it's the Harrison Biden have been too hard. It almost always comes down to Israel, unfortunately, in this last election. And I'm like, there's so many other things, and I'm like, you don't have to agree with them on that.
Much worse on Israel, though, and
100%, 100%,
and he said it was going to be.
Yeah.
He said he would wipe them all out.
In the last few days, there's been a big.
Somehow didn't hear that. People who were like it's not like it was a surprise and he reversed position. He said Netanyahu should finish the job. I mean, it's insane that people that wasn't enough to say, wow, the person I don't like versus the person I hate.
Yeah.
Well, they made it a one issue vote, and
but they were
when I was part of one of the gun violence prevention groups. They wanted us to be one issue voters, gun violence. They want us to be voters. And I'm like, I can't do that. I have way too many other things that I'm worried about. And it just, we are a global community. Okay. Yeah. No, I don't know if anybody realizes that, but whatever happens here affects everything else. So whatever happens in Europe affects us. Whatever happens in Asia. I mean, we are a global community. It's not like we're on separate little floating islands in space. We are one freaking planet, and nobody realizes this. So when you're a one issue voter and you don't think about the global community, that really ticks me off. It just 15 million people didn't vote, and I think it was like 90 million people who were able to register to vote didn't register to vote and vote.
Registered voters didn't vote.
Yeah.
But there's 90 million people who could register and haven't.
Yeah, and they didn't vote. And what is there, like 300 million people in this country? Maybe more now.
30, I think. But
wow, it's not that many people vote.
Yeah.
And it's our country. Like, I don't understand it. We have to have a say in it. And I would be yelling at myself 10 years ago saying, what the fuck are you doing? Like, sorry, but like, what are you doing?
No, we swear.
Bitch curse on our fucking show.
But like, seriously, what the fuck are you doing? Why aren't you getting engaged? I would have yelled at myself 10 years ago, because now I'm realizing, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, I can also understand though that like becoming a citizen to vote is a much bigger step than registering on a piece of paper to vote. If you were born here and turned 18, you get to vote. Basically, like the effort after that point in most places, I know that they're making it harder, but the effort for most people is minimal, or has been historically minimal. in the last 20 years. So like there is not the same excuse
And
for
when you
your
compare it to
average.
her becoming a citizen, it's minimal no matter what it is.
Sure.
Right?
But I'm just saying that becoming a citizen should be the hardest hurdle that anybody has to, not that it should be, you know what I mean when I say should be. Like there shouldn't be anything harder than that or more better excuse than that.
There's nothing
to not
harder.
voting.
There's nothing harder than that because
I think
you have to do
everybody
that
should
and
have
then
to
do the
take a.
regular stuff to register to vote.
Yeah.
I think everybody should have to take a civics test before they register to vote.
Yeah,
Because I bet you money that the things I had to learn for my civics test, for my citizenship, I bet you, I don't know, 70% of the country wouldn't pass it. Maybe
Except
more.
And it should be on a rolling.
Someone who's 18 can say, you know what, I don't know the civics test stuff, but I know that I'm LGBTQ and I know which party is going to attack me and which is going to protect me. And they don't need to know everything else. I mean, you can be a one issue, but you can know, one issue, what is fascism and is not fascism.
Yeah.
There's a weak, ineffectual party and a fascist party. I'd rather have the weak, ineffectual than the fascists. You can know that without the civics.
Yeah.
And what I was going to say about the one issue thing is I can kind of understand the impulse towards being a one issue voter on certain issues. However, when the one issue is they're both on, let's say the middle point that we want to start from is here, and both candidates are on the other side of that point from you, then that point can't be your one issue anymore. Right. Especially, like Matthew said, when Trump is even fucking worse about it. So, like, then pick a different issue, whether it's marijuana legalization. Like, there's so many things, and they should all lead you to Democrat.
They look at the one issue they care about and say, oh, they're both on the side of big corporations. That's why I'm not voting. Like, I'm not making any choice, rather than look at the shades of gray. Lesser of two evils is a real thing. You can vote for the lesser of two evils. Like I say, if you want a cop to break your arm or break both arms and both your legs, saying, well, I don't want either one, and letting them choose themselves is not a good benefit.
Yeah.
Not making a choice is still a choice.
Yeah. And
what you're choosing is let someone else decide. I'm okay with whatever the other people say.
I know someone who is trans, who made it a one issue for them and said, I'm worried about the people in Gaza. I'm not voting for Harris. I'm voting for Jill Stein,
Yeah.
And I swear I wanted to bang my head against the wall. I actually unfriended them because I couldn't handle their BS. Yeah. I just couldn't. And I was on their side. I mean, I don't want to say who they are, so I'm not going to say what they, like, how I met them or anything, but I was on their side and I was helping them out, and then they went into this tirade, and when we were trying to convince them this is how it is, and you can't just think about this one thing when you have to think about what else is going on in this country, and they just wouldn't they didn't want to listen. So I was like, I can't take it anymore. I just can't. Yeah. And they're trans, and I'm like thinking, if they went to Gaza, they would probably get murdered because they're trans.
That's saying, like, here's the issue that even if you think they're the same on it, then you have to look at other issues, because there are other issues can make the deciding factors. Make a chart, pluses and minuses. They both get a minus for Gaza, fine.
Yeah,
but there's other things.
Being a trans person who did not vote for Harris feels like the worst decision making, because the Republicans made it a one issue, and that was your existence if you're a trans person. Like that is I mean, I literally can't think of anything else that I heard. Like, I know there's little things about egg prices, but those were really like the rumblings of the people. Oh, and there was also the I forgot about the Haitian immigrants eating cats and eating dogs. But like, but other than that, it was all trans. Like everything, and the Democrats did not really. I didn't see anything either way, pro or anti. There was
trans
it was
advertising on the part of the Democrats.
But the Republicans were attacking, and it was very clear. So if you're trans and you voted for anybody but Harris or did not vote, it seems like the most foolish possible option for me. I will say
that's as bad as leopards eating your face,
Yeah. I think I think when it comes to these, like, I can't vote for either mentality, we have to look at the, you said it a second ago, Matthew, about the, like, not making a decision is making a decision, but like the trolley problem. If you refuse to engage in the trolley problem, whoever dies is still on you. Like, you may have made it worse, you may have made it slightly better by participating, but by not participating, whatever happens is on you.
Well, I mean, same with that trolley problem. It's like if you walk by and see someone drowning and you go, you know what, I watched your child drown, but I didn't push them in or anything. I just watched them drown.
Yeah.
Like, I just watched Trump get elected. I didn't help elect him. I just watched. Like, well, that's the same as, like, yeah, fine, you're not the murderer, but I hate you for letting my child drown. Like, I don't care if you didn't push them in.
Yeah, and if you voted for Jill Stein, it's like watching someone drown and pulling someone who's fully capable of swimming out of the water by themselves.
Yeah.
I'll say, in North Carolina, the amount of votes that went to Jill Stein wouldn't have made a difference. So I'm not saying North Carolinians who voted for Jill Stein, it's your fault this time, though. Hillary Clinton would have won if all the Jill Stein votes in the swing states went to her instead of Trump. There were states she would have won. So she would have won.
Yeah.
If Ralph Nader votes had gone to Al Gore would have won.
Yeah.
So sometimes, not this particular state, this particular election, Jill Stein didn't do as well this election as she did the last one, and the swing states weren't as close as they were. But voting for the third party is the same as voting for whoever wins. Saying, I don't care who wins, they have half a vote for me because I didn't vote against the winner.
Yeah. I grew up in Massachusetts, and in a conservative family in Massachusetts. We have, other than governors occasionally, we've never won. The conservatives have never won anything in my lifetime in Massachusetts.
Well, they're used to running for the
every single person in my family votes every single time.
Right.
It is like a principle that you vote. That is your duty to vote.
And
it's so easy. It would be so easy to go, this person's, George Bush isn't going to win here. Donald Trump isn't going to win here. And I get, and obviously I'm on the other side now, but and I have never been in a Republican exclusively state. So these are my options. But the idea is, even in a state where it seems futile, we've always voted.
I think I need you to switch back to Republican. In fact, because you were you voted against Obama, right?
No. Obama was my first Democrat.
Okay. First or second election?
First. And then I voted third party, but I was in Massachusetts and I knew he would win. Just so we're clear.
He won North Carolina, so.
It was in 2012 I voted for it may have been Jill Stein. But again, it was in Massachusetts, and it was clear he was going to win that. So,
well, as much as people would like to have more than two main parties, it's not going to happen overnight, and so you kind of have to vote for one or the other, and then not vote third party right now, because none of that stuff's going to happen overnight.
You can vote third party for your town council, for your county commissioner, for even your local house and state. Yeah. That's how you build a third party. Because even if there was a third party president, unless they were closely aligned with one of the two parties, let's look at Bernie, who's completely aligned with the Democratic Party, just likes to call himself an independent. Unless you're that, then you're not going to get anything passed or done, because if both parties are your enemy, you have to be aligned with one of the parties. And then it's just playing a game about saying, I'm just not going to call myself that.
Yeah. And if you want to go to a Jill Stein rally because you like her politics better, and then vote for Harris, Biden, Clinton, etc., that's fine too. Support in that way too.
But also, voting is the least you can do. So to get back to our advocacy thing, go talk to your state senator and your state representative and tell them, I want you to be more like Jill Stein. Madhavi just finished writing a battery of emails and calls before a certain bill was voted on. And then afterwards, she wrote a bill. Half the Democrats she voted, or whatever number.
Half. 3/4 said
voted the wrong way, in our opinion, on it. And she wrote a thing to the people who voted the way we liked, saying, thank you so much for standing up for principles. Thank you for standing up for me, blah, blah, blah. And then she wrote to the other ones, I'm so disappointed in you. I'm so upset that you support Christian nationalism over your constituents. And it doesn't mean we're not going to vote for those people necessarily. Again, doesn't mean we might vote against them in a primary if someone better primaries them.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we're not going to go talk to them about that issue and other issues again. You still got to work with those people. But unless they hear from you, unless they hear your political voice, they're going to hear your political silence. So if you want to move the party left, you move it left. You don't have to be part of the party. We're unaffiliated. You don't have to be part of a party. but you have to talk to the party that's closer to you and try to move them in the direction you want them to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because even the Republicans, like right now, there's so many people calling their Republican senators and Congress people and expressing their displeasure. And I mean, I think it's both Democrats and Republicans calling these Republican people, and they're listening. They're starting to listen because they know they're not going to get elected again because these people are so unhappy.
Yeah.
You have to call. You have to contact them. Even I guess I'm just going to say it. I'm a brown person in this country, and so I don't feel like completely safe now. But even I have called my Republican senators and basically
not completely safe,
yelled at them.
She's a little afraid that her name will go on the list for calling our senator. And when Trump says who's anti-American, Tillis will be like, Madhavi Krevat called me. She's anti-American. She talked bad about you.
Yeah.
So there is that concern.
Yeah.
I will. So Alex just threw it in the messages, and I wanted to say something about Tillis. By the way, I've been seeing ads, and I have never seen ads at this time of year, and they're like, not in the middle of even like the what do they call the off year? I always forget the term. Midterm.
Midterms.
It's not even a midterm. There's been ads all over YouTube saying like, call Tom Tillis and tell him, and I forget what the specific issue is this time, but it's like, let him know that we don't want this. Like, and I've never seen that before.
Yeah. So here's
huge.
I know people at home are listening and they're saying, but they don't care. Republicans don't care.
Yeah.
Well, Republicans are saying Democrats don't care about my issue. And you're right. They don't today, but they care about getting reelected. And right now, the reason they don't go against Trump is because Trumpers vote, and they're afraid they won't get reelected, or they'll get primaried by someone further right than them.
Yep.
But with all the damage Trump is doing, especially to the farm states, but to our economy in general, to people who love people of color, to people who love people who are LGBTQI, at some point, the pendulum will swing to enough Republicans have been hurt by Trump that they don't stop being Republicans, but they don't support Trump anymore, or they don't automatically hate a Republican who speaks out. So when that gets to that point in your state, that's when your Republican senator or congressperson will be willing to listen to what you say, because now the support isn't there that's scaring them that they'll be voted out.
Right.
But it's too late then to start talking to them. They need to be hearing it all along. So when it gets to the point where they're like, hey, my position is safe, and shit, for a year, all I've heard is impeach Trump for this, impeach him for this, impeach him for that, vote against this. People want me to do this. And now the fact that I don't have a spine doesn't mean anything, because there's no risk to me anymore that it won't get reelected. So now I'll listen to the people. So make those calls, send those emails, get your message in there, because it may fall on deaf ears now, but at some point they might be willing to listen.
Well,
better to have sent 1,000 messages than starting at one a year from now.
Yeah.
And it's I've always heard this, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So you have to keep pushing. You have to keep pushing, because even the littlest victories can spur you on. So like I said, I was part of the gun violence prevention movement in the beginning. And there was this one time that our General Assembly wanted to add an arming teachers amendment to a school safety bill. So we showed up in the gallery, and so a couple of the representatives who know who we are and know what we stand for actually got us called out by the speaker. This group is here, everybody stand up. And we all stood up, and everybody saw that we were there. And guess what? After that, we showed up 2 nights in a row. We made phone calls and sent emails. That amendment never passed. So we had that little victory, but that spurred us on, because we kept pushing, and we finally got them to listen and know that they're not going to get this done, and that it's not going to fly with us.
I think the marathon story better, hun, is your experiences with Tom Tillis.
Yeah, well, so we went to visit him several times at his office in Raleigh. Never got to meet with him, but got to meet with his aides. And one of his senior aides actually told us, while we were talking about, we need gun violence prevention and we need red flag laws and all this stuff, he actually told us Tom Tillis is not interested in what his constituents say. He's interested in writing good policy. And we're like, excuse me, what is good policy? Is good policy allowing people to die from gun violence, And so we kept talking to him, we kept going. And he was one of the sponsors of the Safer Communities Act, which passed by bipartisan vote. It passed and was signed into law by Biden. So it did pass, but we pushed and we pushed.
Statistics say, I don't care what the voters say. I personally am a pro Second Amendment, and so I don't care what anyone says. I'm not going to do anything anti-gun. Yeah. And 3 or 4 years later, he was a co-sponsor of not the best bill in the world, but the first in 30 years.
Yeah,
and
he and at the time
long enough.
Yeah, and at when it was voted on, he and Burr, who was the other senator at the time, who's since retired, they both voted for it, and they were the only two Republican senators from the same state who voted for it.
Yeah,
so we pushed, and I mean, I figure Burr voted for it because he was already retiring or whatever. But Tillis voted for it, and that
like the reason that in the past he wouldn't vote for a gun law was so he can get reelected. Like, I know people are dying, but I want to get reelected.
Yeah. So it does work. It really does. You might not see it right away, but you have to keep pushing and you can't stop. And that's what spurs me on, is that it will work. You just have to keep pushing. You have to keep calling. When, I mean, like I've called other senators and reps and stuff that aren't in my state, or in my area or in my county or in my district or whatever, because all the people at the NCGA, when they make these decisions, they're making it for the entire state, not just for their constituents. It will affect everybody in the state. So somebody asked me, like, oh, is it okay to contact these other people who aren't your senator or your representative? I'm like, heck yeah, because they're making decisions that affect all of us. It's not just them, and it's not just their people, their district. It's everybody. So call and write, which is what I do.
They may give you a little less value than they give their actual constituent, but they're still hearing your message.
Yeah.
I want to, kind of loop in a couple things that you've both said over the course of this so far. But one, Matthew, when you brought up the tall Texan guy, and the idea of we need to call in. I think it's really important, if you're listening to this episode and you look like me and you care about these issues, you need to be more vocal than other people, because
when you have privilege, this is a place to spend it.
Because so far, they're not arresting and detaining Michael Coles. They're arresting and detaining, I'm going to probably mess up his name and I apologize, Mahmoud Khalil. And there was the person, I want to say it was in Harvard last week.
It was a PhD. Yeah.
And she was I'm pretty sure a Muslim woman. And so, they're both green card holders, not citizens, which makes it harder. And also they're Muslim, which makes it harder for them.
Bigger target on them.
Yeah, that's what I mean when I say makes it harder. Makes it harder for them. And so for us who don't look like that, don't have those names, who are, natural born citizens, we have less to fear right now, although that could change. That could get way worse. And we need, it is on us to, if you believe in what we're talking about, you need to stand the fuck up. There is no more time to sit back. We need to be a global community. We need to be vocal, especially, with great power comes great responsibility. We have I'm the least likely to get arrested of, just by demographic. So, and to have those real world consequences that, this hasn't finished yet. We don't know how this is going to play out. Hopefully he gets back to his wife and child soon, but we don't know. Bad shit has happened forever to minorities in this country. And, and so we need to advocate for others as well as just standing up on our own.
Well, it is happening to white people not from this country. Canadians have been harassed. I know a German person who got harassed.
Into the country for a science conference because they had tweeted negative Trump things.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It's just.
I think it's you need to keep in mind the old saying, first they came for the socialists, and I stood the fuck up because I know the rest of the way that goes.
Yeah. Well, and also, even if, like, let's say I could see the future, and I know that that I'm never ever gonna have to face consequences for this. If I sit back and do nothing, it's still wrong. You're still not participating, and there are people who
All it
cannot.
takes for evil to win is for good people to do nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's there. Yeah, there's no acceptable reason if you believe in what we believe in, and you have the least amount of consequences to face, you have no legitimate reason to do nothing.
Well, let me just add that I'm a brown person, but in effect, I still have a lot more privilege than a lot of other people do. And so that's why I'm using my voice, is that I feel a responsibility to help my fellow human being, because I do have a lot of privilege. I really do. I live in a big house in a nice town. I don't have to worry too much about money and stuff. So I have to use this privilege, to help other people, because there are a lot of people that are less privileged than I am who are hurting and who are suffering. And, I may be like a little scared, but they're terrified. They don't know what the next day is going to bring. So that it's my responsibility to help them. It really is.
And I would point out that Madhavi's activism did not start with Asian American issues or even women's issues. It started with people are being shot, all people in all situations. Like, it didn't even start as a selfish kind of, this is what affects me.
Yeah.
Like, she has a focus. She works with Asian American political groups and stuff because it's a focus of hers. Right now, we do a lot of immigration protests and emails and stuff because it's an important thing that's happening. But that's an external thing that made that important. Not we're standing up for what, the only thing that we care about.
Well, and Lee and I have actually branched out from gun violence prevention. We started our own, I can't even say group, because it's just the two of us and it'll always be the two of us. It's not like we're inviting other people into this, but we call ourselves LNM Advocacy. So Lee and Madhavi, Advocacy.
Is that what that stands for?
Yes. We've branched out into, immigration rights and women's rights and abortion access and LGBTQ rights, so we've added on to that because we know, again, we're not one issue voters, and we know that there's all these problems happening across many, many spectrums, and that we need to speak up. So what we do is we just trained people on how to be an activist and advocate. We help other groups. So we've joined, there's a group called North Carolina Asian Americans Together. We've joined their advocacy day and, gone and talked to our people about, Asian issues with the Asian community. And, we've gone to marches, like the Poor People's Campaign has done marches. So we go to those marches. So we just created our own thing so that we could help other groups with their stuff, so, and that way, because we cover a lot of issues, and we want to cover a lot of issues, we do it one at a time. We try not to muddle things up and do 10 things at a time, but one or two things at a time, we will definitely work on.
That's great.
Oh, and the thing is, I was saying how you don't have to talk to just your senator or your representative or whatever, because they make decisions for everybody. When a few years ago in Atlanta there was that shooting, within the Asian community, and so
was it South Carolina?
Yeah, it was. No, was it South Carolina? Yeah, it was. But it
was it the
so. What?
Because it was Georgia that was the massage parlor.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed
that. Oh, yeah, no, it was Atlanta, yeah. But so Wiley Nickel, who was a congressman but is no longer one, he was a senator, in the NCGA, and so he called me and Leah because he knew us, and he had leveraged Leah for things about gun violence. He called us and he said, I just want to make sure you guys are okay. Because, we know this happened. It was a shooting, and you guys are gun violence prevention activists, but it also happened in the Asian community. And I know you're Asian. He just called out of the blue to make
And
sure
he wasn't
we were
our
okay.
senator. He may have been yours, Michael, but he wasn't ours. He was the next district over to us. He wasn't our senator. Yeah.
So he just out of the blue called us. He didn't have to, but that's what you do when you make these relationships and you leverage these people and they leverage you, and they know that we know that we can count on them, and they know that they can count on us, and we've been called several times by one senator or representative. Can you come to the NCGA? Come and talk about gun violence, or, come and talk about your Asian issues or whatever. They've asked us to come and be advocates, and they know that they can count on us to do that. And it took time to build those relationships, but they're very important. And again, we have relationships with not just our senator and representative. It's across all these counties, and they know us. One of the senators from Mecklenburg, he's Indian, but he's Muslim. He's from Bangladesh, Senator Mohammed. And my daughter-in-law was trying to get her green card and then her citizenship, and so they were trying to find a lawyer. And so I just texted him, and I was like, "Hi, Senator, remember me? Blah blah blah. I was wondering if you knew the name of some lawyers, some immigration lawyers that could help, my son and his wife." And sure enough, he sent me a couple of names, and they used one of them, and this person has been helping them throughout the entire process. And on March 14th, my
17th.
daughter-in-law became
March 17th.
14th.
Oh, no, it's 14th. My days are off. No,
Leah's surgery. Yeah. So on March 14th, my daughter-in-law became a citizen. So, and this lawyer helped her through the entire process. But because I knew the senator who was a lawyer, in Mecklenburg, he was able to give me some information. So, I mean, it's just a win-win all around, not just politically, but socially and, other ways. It's just, and these people want to talk to you, and people ask, well, how did you meet them? Or blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you can meet them anywhere.
Especially during campaign season where they have events.
Yes, all the time. And Leah and I have done meet and greets for these people. We did one for Congresswoman Deborah Ross, and I have her number. And on January 6th, during the insurrection, I texted her, and I'm like, I just want to make sure you're okay. Is everything all right? And then I said, don't answer if you can't, and don't answer if you don't want to, or whatever. She wrote back right away, we're fine. We're hunkering down right now. We're okay. And so I was like, shoo, okay. She's good. At the time she was our congresswoman, but I mean, they want to hear from you. They want to be friends with you. They want to, listen, and they want to talk to you.
Festivals, you can meet them. Like we went, Indian, fall holiday of Diwali, we went to the Morrisville event and the Cary event, and at both events hung out with the mayors of those cities and Congress people and state reps. I mean, because Madhavi, they seek her out. They see her and they come across a crowd of people pushing them out of the way to give Madhavi and Leah hugs. And though the mayor of Morrisville gave me a hug, and I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. It's like, oh man,
he's a big fan of the podcast. That's why
he was asking. He goes, so how's the comedy going? And I'm like, how do you even know? And it's like, because he knows Leah and Madhavi well enough, the mayor of Morrisville, where we don't live, that he knows who I am through them.
Yeah. I have one quick question. I think we should probably start wrapping up in a second.
Yep.
So we're, maybe this is something that's different between casual conversations politically and advocacy. Do you find, so one of my big hurdles when I'm talking to people is not, I don't want to say apathy. I want to say more of they tend to think that I am being hyperbolic. Do you find that when you're dealing with, whether it's protesting or just reaching out to people, like, for example, I remember around the time Trump got elected the first time, I said something about, I compared him to Hitler. And someone said, you need, well, I think Hitler had a better economy. I said, hey, the guy, at that point I was 31-ish, 32. And the guy said, he was 50 or something, and said to me, like, yeah, I know. He said, you need to read some history if you think. And I said, Hitler didn't come in having killed 6.2 million Jews. He worked up to it. When do we get to start making that comparison? And we're at that point now where I'm like, the hyperbole is coming true. Like all of the things that we were saying,
hyperbole is dead. We're there.
Right. And so like
every expert is saying it like this.
But
there are experts on fascism, professors who are leaving the country because they don't want to be here. Sure,
experts are saying that, but I still talk to people, because I have family that's conservative, and I have friends that are somewhat conservative, and I talk to them, and it's like they don't fucking know, and like they think I'm being ridiculous. I'm like, to go back to Mahmoud Khalil, like, no, like this is shit that would never have happened 15 years ago. Like this is shit that we would never have heard about. Like obviously people got killed and bad things happened, but we didn't see people getting like extricated from the United States and like sent somewhere. Like this is crazy shit. And do you feel that you deal with that when you're talking to people as an advocate, or do you think that that's more of a talking to the lay person kind of problem?
I think if it's somebody really extreme, like a true like MAGA head Trumper, they're not going to listen to me and they're going to think I'm exaggerating.
Yeah.
But other people, what I try to do is, and I'm all about science, and so I'm all about the statistics and the data, and that kind of the research, the scientific methods. So I try to lay out the facts to people, not just my opinion, just the facts. Here's how he looks more like Hitler, Here are here are the parallels. Can you see it? And they'll go, yeah, I guess so. So I've never actually encountered anybody who was, like in gun violence prevention, they have to be pretty freaking extreme not to listen to us. This one guy, he didn't bring his gun, but he brought his holster, and he's like, I'm a gun owner, and like convinced me, and we were able to talk to him and tell him, give him the statistics, and he's like, okay, I can see that, so most people are pretty reasonable. It's just those, like I said, those MAGA heads, those crazy, two-way Second Amendments, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to listen to the first part of it, right to bear arms is it, those people, it's really hard to talk to. And I find most of them are at the NCGA, the Republican senators and representatives. They don't want to hear what you have to say. They really don't want to hear what you have to say. They will argue. I will give you an example. I called one of the senators on this. One of the senators on this bill, one of the representatives on this bill that I didn't want passed, that had to do with separation of religion and government.
They want to post "In God We Trust" in the Senate and the House,
like behind the speaker and behind the president of the Senate. And so I was saying, that's not separation of religion and government. So I called I called all the representatives. There's 4 who sponsored this bill. I left messages for most of them. One, I got the legislative assistant, and you know what she told? I said, I'm calling to protest this bill. You know what she told me? She said, our country was founded on Christianity. And I said, no, it wasn't. I said, I have so much, no, it wasn't, and I tried to tell her first, First Amendment and even the North Carolina Constitution, Article 1, Section 13 says the same thing as the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment, the Treaty of Tripoli. I tried to talk to her. She starts screaming at me. I'm screaming at her, and then she hung up on me.
Yeah.
So she don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it at the General Assembly.
I was terrified. I'm like, I hope it's not me. She's saying that bitch, but I don't think it's me, but oh my God.
Maybe the correct way to go about that particular argument is when they say this country was founded on Christianity, to say which one. And then just watch their head explode. Because they don't, but
Catholicism, Protestantism, which one is it? Yeah. So, but I mean, people believe this, right? And it's not true. They have this weird revisionist history thing going on in their heads. And
some of it is correct me if I'm wrong. Is it the "In God We Trust" or is it the God under One Nation Under God? One of them was added in the 50s as a.
There's Pledge of Allegiance that under God was added.
Was it adopted as in place of E pluribus unum to compete with the godless communists.
Yeah. So
that was 1957. That was the 48th Congress in 1957 decided that because of the godless commies. Yeah. But also the Pledge of Allegiance didn't have under God until much later.
Yeah. And I just find that funny because like my grandfather is 90 and it comes up, everybody brings it up when I go to Christmas or whatever else. And I'm like, there's several people in this room who would have gone to school and not said under one nation under God. Like, like this isn't, this is not something that like they, that like John Quincy Adams got rid of in like the 6th president. We're talking about stuff that happened right before my dad was born, when my grandfather and his siblings would have been in school.
But they probably didn't say the pledge in school because it wasn't a government thing. It started as a Boy Scout thing.
Okay, I did not know that. Because then they're also saying, the other thing that gets said is they don't even say the pledge in school anymore. And I asked Logan one time, someone in my family said they don't say it in school anymore. I said, did they say the Pledge of Allegiance in your school? And he goes, what's the Pledge of Allegiance? I'm like, I pledge allegiance to... Oh, he goes, oh yeah, we do that. And I was like,
what's the Pledge of Allegiance?
They don't even know what it means. Like when I had to say it in school, I had no idea what it meant. Nobody explained it to me. Why do I have to say it?
It's weird as fuck. It's a weird as fuck thing to do.
Yeah.
But like the fact that they keep pushing this like propaganda about the fact that nobody's saying it in school, and I'm like, first of all, apparently according to Matthew, they weren't saying it 100 years ago or less.
Yeah.
And now my son, who's 8, is saying it, and like I've told him, like, you don't have to say it if you don't want to, but I don't want to.
My kids didn't.
We didn't know our kids had stopped. They didn't tell us. When Jacob was in middle school, I think 8th grade, his homeroom teacher was out sick for a couple of days, and when they did the pledge, he just sits and he didn't get up. Like that, and he started like not saying under God when he was like in 3rd grade. Then eventually he would stand and do nothing. In my middle school, he just wouldn't stand, and we had no idea. Like it wasn't us telling him; we had no idea. Yeah. And he had a substitute teacher who made him stand and and berated him. And he came home pissed off and told me. So I went, I don't even know the rules. I don't even know. So I looked it up, and the law is the school system can require it in general, but no individual student can be forced to participate. Yeah. And they do that because, Jehovah's Witnesses and Seventh-day Adventists don't believe in it religiously. Like it's protecting the religious people really is the reason that you can be exempt.
Yeah.
I sent a letter off to the principal, an email right away, when I read it, quoting it and saying this. And I literally got a response back within 2 minutes saying, I'm sorry, I'm aware of what the law is. That's a substitute teacher who doesn't understand our policies or apparently our laws. This will not happen again. Jacob is free to express himself however he wishes. Yeah. And Jacob's like, I never saw that sub again. The sub had introduced themselves as they're going to be our sub for the week while the teacher's out, like they had surgery or something. Yeah. And that sub was never, because I never saw her in the building again.
Nice. All right. That was good spot, I think, for us to...
Hey, Michael, have you been streaming live all this time, by the way?
I hope so. We've had some comments from... Sam Wise, the Overthinker, has been commenting quite a bit.
Formerly Ricochet Reader.
I'm sorry that I have not been reading the comments the whole time. It's too hard for me to do that.
Wow! So anyone who was watching us on YouTube live and has made it this far, or anyone who watches this recording on YouTube later, let me give you a little thing. Here's what you should do: like this video, and even if you make comments in the live chat, Sam Wise, the Overthinker. Go ahead and make a comment too, because comments, their engagement. It's what the system wants to see. If you really like it, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you in the future can find our videos. And go nuts! Ring the notification bell, ding da ding ding do, and this way you'll know whenever a video is posted. Yeah. I mean, who could ask for anything more? More us. And that's all I got to say. I'm not asking for anything else. It would be crazy and rude of me to ask for anything. Only an asshole would ask for more than a subscribe, a like, and a ring in the bell and a little comment on YouTube. I wouldn't ask for anything else. Nobody would. Nobody with any sense.
Speaking of assholes, I guess I'm the asshole this week, and so I'm going to ask you, if you're listening to this podcast, to give it a 5-star or a thumbs up or whatever your podcast player of choice allows.
Or download iTunes just to review this.
I was just about to say, or as Matthew likes to say, download iTunes just to review this.
I do like to say that.
Yeah, and if for some reason all of those options that we just laid out for you aren't enough, you can go to patreon.com/talking about the big stuff, where we have
patreon.com/talking about the big stuff.
Yeah, patreon.com/talking about the big stuff.
That's what I thought you said. Patreon.com/talking about the big stuff.
Exactly. So if you go to patreon.com/talking about the big stuff, we have 4 different options. A freebie, which is just another way of getting this podcast, as like instead of Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We have a $1 option, which gets you that same thing, but 4 days early. And then we have a $3 version, which gets you a little bit of extra bonus content, and then a $10 version, which is where you get to see Matthew just being obscene.
Not today, because my wife is here.
Oh, yeah.
She thinks I'm a virgin.
Yeah, right.
It's weird to explain those 3 kids then.
Harder for her to explain it than me.
Well, they all kind of look like you too, so.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
All right. So, Madhavi, thank you for coming on. We will see you in 10 minutes.
Okay.
if Matthew didn't offend you, like you talked about at the beginning. And Matthew, do you have anything left to?
I just want to say, hey, everyone, if you're still with us, thank you for being here to talk about the big stuff. Now reach out to your elected officials and talk about the big stuff with them.
Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. If you have thoughts or questions or topics you'd like us to tackle in a future episode, drop us a line on our social media channels. Engage with this video when you are now watching it as a VOD on YouTube. Send us an email. We love hearing from our listeners, bringing us topics, because if you leave it up to the 3 of us, we're going to eventually be talking about underwater basket weaving. So we would appreciate you guys reaching out a little bit. Don't forget to subscribe to Talking About the Big Stuff on your favorite platform. Give us a 5-star rating. Engage with it. Criticize us. We need to grow and be better, and you're going to help us be there. You're going to help us get to that point. It really helps us more to reach out and also to keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more big ideas and more thought-provoking discussions. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep talking about the big stuff.
The preceding podcast has been a Chocolate Diamond Media LLC production. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.